You know, we usually talk about the matchups and how Japan can be good against usually at X point in the game versus Y point. But I throw all that out the window for many reasons here. One, we're on Forts, which is just a wild map. And two, Kazi Johan defies all reason from the games I've watched so far. And I think you'll even agree with that. One and all, welcome back to Age of Empires 4 action. We are here to watch some scrims between Kaiser Johan and Tips. Japanese versus Yushi. Now, this is an interesting one, actually, because whenever we look on scrims, we get something a little bit spicy, something a little bit different, right? Usually people may be a little bit more experimental because ELO is not on the line. So I'm hoping we're going to see something curious at bare minimum. In fact, you can literally see in the chat box below the comment from Johan. If you want to see a clown fiesta, check out my game. And if you guys haven't guessed by how my face looks and the way I talk, I'm all about clown fiestas. So let's go. Opening, we're going to speed this up a bit. Forts, for those that haven't played it before, is a very defensive map. It's very difficult to breach the starting base, but the cool thing about the way it was designed with its intention is it's meant to encourage you to come out of that starting base incredibly quickly due to a lack of long-term resources. You get a fat stone outcropping, you only get a small gold, get fairly limited wood, and not much food to work with. So, curious to see how these two want to play it, because usually versus Japanese, it just kind of sounds like a matchup that's typically going to be very boomy on both sides. And looking at the map spawns, there are some decent values to the south side. I say for both players here. Boar and Deer to the south for Yushi. And also Boar and Deer to the south for Kazi Johan. Both nicely insulated near wood lines and gold lines. North side isn't too bad, but I think it's a little bit more exposed to play into. This is one of those central spawns, by the way. I think the devs are planning to make it a little bit more consistent, but we've seen multiple different spawns for for forts. We've seen corner spawns. We've seen two on one side of the map. This feels like one that I don't see as often, where they are centrally placed down the center. Say that 10 times. Meditation Garden is going to be on the way, though. Hence why I mentioned it randomly earlier, is because I was looking at here. Jushi getting a Meditation Garden like this, it's not too bad. They're going to get 25 stone. They're going to get their hands on 36 food. And then it's probably going to be about 20 wood. So not crazy, nothing that's going to break the bank, but this does mean that Tips is going to have a trickle of resources to play into multi-CC if he chooses. Other side of this is going to be Crystal House, and I love this detail from Kazi Johan. Actually, I hate it and love it at the same time. He drops the Crystal House right next to the TC. That unfortunately means 2 less farms overall, but he can now actively gather from the stone for a second TC. And it's optimal because you've already dropped on the forge. You wanted a quick tech timing. This is how you do it. Now, all of a sudden, Kaiser Johan has an ability to get into a TC, a second TC, much quicker than he otherwise would have, because he's going to save 50 wood. Stables drop coming in. This is a Daimyo play, isn't it? Yes! Okay, so this is even more sensible now. The lumber camp drop is a little bit awkward because typically if you want to be optimal this play for a second TC, you just play straggler trees plus Crystal House on the stone, and you don't have to drop a lumber camp before you drop a TC. This is about the Daimyo. Putting 3 people on the stone is going to gather him enough here to quickly get into a stables Uma Bannerman. This basically means the Japanese, you're going to get your hands on feudal aged knights. And he's looking to get many bad boys to assist that. It's not just going to be the feudal aged knight, it's also going to be the horseman spam. This has already been scouted out by Tips, who is prepping Chugenu as well as spears. And also, if I'm not mistaken, has he gone for it? Yes, he's been using the stone to hand cannon slit, so a smart choice there. Going to make it much harder for Kazi Johan to dive this area. Daimyo upgrade is in though. So that's going to be better food gathering on the farms. That is also going to be him getting his hands on the Uma Bannerman. It should be queuing up in just a second. Just needs to get a little bit more food. And the mesh also being prepped. Makes a lot of sense when you're up against the Juji. It's absolutely imperative that you rush towards that. Nice thing about the Japanese in this matchup is you get towards it a lot quicker than other civs because your forge, your blacksmith is already there the moment you tech up because it was your mining camp. This is cheeky from Tips. Is he legit trying to outpost rush? Wait, what? I mean, funnily enough, this can kind of work because I think one thing that's kind of a bit awkward with Kazi Johan's build is he didn't go into Yumi. Now, hear me out. People were already cringing, but like, I actually think Yumi are kind of an interesting unit to clash with into this comp. I mean, it makes sense against the spears, but even against the Chuganu. And the reason is that Chuganu tend to overkill Yumi because they are much squishier, right? But like when you move in with a mass Chuganu, although it looks like they're killing a lot of units, what you have to remember is although they're killing them, they're overkilling them. which means it's a more cost-efficient trade for the Japanese because they pay less for each of those units being overkilled. Horsemen are going to cut off the reinforcements, though, so it looks like he's going to look to defend with Samurai while he raids with the Horsemen and cuts any reinforcements trying to move across the map. Cool thing about this strategy by Kaiser Johann, by the way, is he has momentum on his side so that if he sees no troops are coming, he can then just double down on the attack force because all of a sudden you don't have enough to hold this position because you've kept back 10 plus troops at home. And what are you doing? You're not with... No, you're not one of the lads. All right. Leave him to it. Tips is having a moment with one of those villies. Well, Outpost is up. Hand Cannon Slit is coming in, but Kaiser Johann doesn't really need much more gold right now. Just Horseman alone could break this quite quickly. In fact, I think they're going to get ready to do so. Horseman peels away the spears. Kaiser Johann, dude, this is a sick bait. It's only 5 torches going in, but that's actually enough to break it with the Horseman full up as well. And look at where Tips' army is. So Kaiser Johann just decided it's time to play Benny Hills. And Tips, this is kind of a very big whoopsie, actually, in this type of game, considering that if you look, Kaiser Johann's actively gathering a lot of stone, so he's looking to scale into more farms and more value on those farms, which means his food eco is going to be much better than Zhuji's, and Zhuji are on limited resources. In a game where they haven't built a second TC, instead, they've invested all that stone into hand cannon sleds. What a creative approach by Kaiser Johann. Looks like he has at least been scattered out on the flank, so there's going to be a move to shut that down. I mean, KJ should sense that something's not right in this area, but of course, although we can see, and Tips can see, KJ can't. He is now reacting with an outpost, but what he doesn't realize is he needs to actually rush this up. The army is on its way. In the meantime, Horsemen go in, though. It's going to be a pincher, surrounds a few of the villagers. We'll cut them down, so 2 eco kills there. KJ now with a 3 villager lead. It looks like actually maybe Tips accidentally missed villager production in the game at an earlier phase, considering this should only be a 2 difference. Outpost. I actually think he's going to get it up quick enough here. I mean, it's going to be tight. Like, this is going to be incredibly close. The Chuginu might reach just before completion. It's important that Tips does not reveal himself here. Ah, thank you, Yapito. He solo trained the... That's fair. He solo trained the Imperial official. You are correct. I see the second one now. Apologies. Good eyes, chat. And it is going to be too late. Oh, KJ, your greed. Your greed, sir. All right. Villagers just got thrown in the paper shredder. 1 will be able to move away here, but 3 lost, and it means that actually Kaiser needs to snipe something else in return. Army-wise, Tips actually still has quite a lot of power behind him. A lot of Chuginu, in fact. But his army is split. Looks like that farm villager is going to go down, so Chuginu will find him. One thing that does scare me, though, is Tips is running out of food here, right? Like, the sheep are all gone. He's got berries left over. He's got idle eco. Again, that keeps happening. I don't know why. He's going to have to move out of his base soon. So that's going to spread him a little bit wide against a civ that has horsemen. That's a weak point that KJ can look to exploit. So it's very important that Tips finds a very comfortable position to kind of set himself in and set up defenses optimally. So like, for example, here with the boar and the deer, walling this off is very valuable. You can pull the boar behind the wall and save some wood just walling through the outcroppings, and then wall around the backside. It's quite a lot of wood overall, but you can't really afford to have your army split against this much mobility. Onobigisha and Horsemen. And by the way, I absolutely love this strat. I've talked about it before, why it's so good, and I'll keep tooting the horn about how amazing it is. The reason why Horseman Onobigisha is so effective is it keeps mobility. It's a 2-unit comp that is fast. It's actually one of the fastest 2-unit comps you can achieve in Feudal Age. Especially if it's full melee you're looking for. But Tips, sensing weakness at this moment, is looking to end the game. Oh boy. I actually think that on this map, Zhuji potentially ends up being ban-worthy. And that's kind of funky because Zhuji, they got nerfed pretty hard. People don't rate them as highly as they once did. I think Marine Lord was one of the players who said he sees it as a bottom 4 civ now, after the nerfs. But this ram play, on a map like this, where your opponent's very condensed, the limited resources, the exposed resources, Shugen Numas, followed up by Rams, can easily break a base, and that's looking like what he wants to do here. Moving in, KJ About to lose the stables. He needs more troops behind this, but he just doesn't have the ability to get them fast enough. Onabagisha are being spammed out, but I don't know if it's going to be a fast enough pace. Now, keep in mind, there are some edges here, right? You've got the melee tech in on level 1. You have got the opportunity to get into the Bannerman aura, which is going to allow you to fight back a bit better. But you're still going in with lightly armored units and even horsemen up against mass Chuganu and spears, right? And the issue with that, if this was archers, great fight for you with this many horsemen. But Chuganu shred you. 3 times more damage than an archer can achieve at this stage of the game. Brace comes in from the spears. A-clicks from KJ, a mistake there. Onabagisha did try to clear up the rams, but he's committing to the fight. Looks like he's going to get one of the rams. Second one is going to be protected. It shifts behind the line, but a surround coming in here. Tips. He didn't bring the whole army. Oh my dear God. No, what? Are you kidding me right now? Most of the cav is gone. Most of the Onabagisha are gone. But Tips will not be able to end the game with this play. He'll still keep the Rams alive, but not many Chuganu to support them. Mistakes made. I cannot believe this right now. Wait, what's the rallying going on here? Just A-click them, damn it. Oh my God. How does it go from KJ being in a position where he should clear up the whole force to a position where still about 15 Chuganu are going to be left alive? And how is it the Tips decided in this situation, from this position, when he saw the horsemen were attacking the Rams, for some reason, Tips continued to guard the flank play onto the deer instead of committing everything into the base. It keeps KJ alive, but far from out the woodworks yet. It looks like actually instead KJ is looking to save up for Castle Age here. This is risky. Big shout out to Hymenator coming in with a sub. That's the way we go.
Let's go.
And then these Chuganu spammers, well, we don't say let's go about that. We see let's go when they lose. We're going to have to see if KJ can actually buff this away. He was saving up for Castle, but I just don't think you can afford it now. Not that, now that you see this, right? 4 more Rams coming out. If there have been no more Rams being rebuilt, Castle's achievable here. And if Castle happens, the game is kind of like just GG. GG will not be able to defend their flanks. But now, with this secondary wave, it turns the screws on KJ. If KJ can somehow buffle this away again, things start to look grim for Tips. But to make sure that's not a problem, Tips is now saving up. We may be seeing Castle Age in the next minute from Juji. Okay, skip that. It's a reinvestment. I don't think you want to play Eternal Feudal Age here, weirdly enough. As much hype as we give Chuganu Mass and say how strong it is, I mean, Mass Chuganu up against Mass Samurai and Onabagisha, it gets muddied. You know your opponent has Horsemen as well. This could get a little bit dicey. Military leaders are 2-1, Tips. We'll keep denting the base. Meanwhile, KJ, he goes for the economy. Unfortunately for him, there's already Spimmin out here, so unlikely he'll be able to do much. Rams, although they've cleared up some of the forward infrastructure, they haven't really hit what matters here. They need to start denting these farms. I see reluctance there from Tips, though. Wait, what? Well, on the bingo card of ways to lose the game, I'm going to stamp that one as found. Tips has chosen to queue Pass Guard against Samurai. I have questions. They will probably go unanswered. I'm hoping this was a misclick. I do not rate Pass Guard highly. Pass Guard aren't that great here. The melee armor is decent against Onabagisha, but you're against Samurai as well. And the problem is they're very expensive. Like, you have limited food, right? And you're draining it quite quickly already with your current comp. Flash comes out. He finds the reinforcements! Oh, Tips. Buddy, we got to react quicker than that. Good pushback there. KJ now with the Bannerman Aura. Unstoppable in this fight. The army positioned wrong here. Rams try to go after the farmhouses. That's at least going to pop block Kazi Johan here. But now, after pushing away those troops, he has a way of now clashing with his northern side force and winning. Does need to rush off more farmhouses though. KJ trying to be quick about it, but not quick enough. And the Shogunate Castle upgrade is in. Turns out when you take someone's gold away, there's only one thing left for them, a 2,400 stone outcropping. And now an unbreachable farm area. Army is going to march out. Those farms just got buffed up, by the way. 75% better in Feudal Ace. This is an insane advantage here. For a civ that is pumping mass horsemen, mass Onabagisha is everything you need and more. Horseman now peeling off. He's going to try to slow down the armies. The Onabagisha charge on in. Ram slid off from the group. Tips realizes this is not working anymore. He got good damage done, but not enough to kill off KJ. And now, with a full commitment by both sides into a long feudal, it becomes about the farms that one side has and the other does not. Oh my god. I can't actually believe this. Is he going to make this work against mass all-in Chuganu? I mean, the food is undeniable at this stage, right? Like, look at it. He's always floating around 1,500 food, and that's basically all coming off of farms. None of it is coming off of berries, boar, deer, anything that's going to run out. Meanwhile, the food of Tips, look at it now starting to shrink. He's playing desperate here. He's exhausted the deer. He's almost done with the boar. He's now shifting for the berries. This is getting bad. If KJ can survive another 3 or 4 minutes, that means Tips has to go for farms. If Tips has to go for farms, this is over. If Tips has to go for the northern food, this is over. Because it means he'd have to walk across the map. And that idle time alone, in a game where 30-plus military lead seems big, it's not. By the time Tips runs out of food here, he's going to be popped. If he then has to run across the map, that's just an opportunity for KJ to close the gap and build a reserve of food that could allow him to tech up. This is scary. Well, when you play Zhu Ji on forts, there's only one way, isn't there? The chat's already on it. Round 3. Ding, ding. 3 rams this time, though. Jesus, we're getting cheaper. This is like the chocolate bars you had 20 years ago versus the ones you have now, right? Just less to them. 25% less. He's going to be spotted coming in. KJ. He could genuinely just go for a second TC here. And I actually quite like it. He's got plenty of food for that, right? Like, he just needs a TC to secure some gold. It's a bit risky with the Chuganu mass this big, but if you sneak it somewhere else, it can be pretty effective. Unfortunately for him, Tips is guarding the flanks. Kaiser Johan with a weird wraparound here. He's going for the outpost drop. This is a sick read. He wants to know when Tips makes that transition to the left side so he can raid it. Tips moving the army deeper. The problem is he's not finding a fight, and every minute he doesn't find a fight, it gets worse. It looks like the samurai pick is going to come in, though. KJ, a bit wide, is going to lose some of his troopers. So as soon as I say he can't find a fight, funnily enough, he actually gets one. But while that's happening, there's a movement in the center, and this movement's more important. That's a sheer outnumber. Tips has to back away. His eco! Oh my god! The idle time we were worried about has arrived, folks. Villagers running for their lives. KJ now able to start pushing the enemy base. He's going to try to force a trade here, and the difference is that Tips is going to have to dive a rocket launcher TC. Meanwhile, KJ, with mass melee, has everything he needs to burn down the infrastructure and kill anything inside this island. Armies march in. Split up the troops temporarily. Chuganu are outnumbered on the defense here, though. Not able to hold. Have to keep retreating. Rams now moving in, but this is going to get dicey for a dive. Even the Rams aren't going to feel great here, right? The rocket launcher able to do 30 damage per shot to a 340 health Ram. Now being sniped. Chuganu having to stand their ground. This is looking bad, folks. KJ, what a brilliant read. He didn't want to take on the Chuganu straight away, so instead he goes after the weak point of Tips. He's reinforcements his economy, and he's hunting for it right now, right? He's got horsemen looking. He's got outposts being set up on all these flanks. Half the army does peel back to return to defend. It is going to be mass spears here because remember, gold has been limited for KJ. So you can't afford to just spam up the Samurai and Onabagisha on their own. He does, however, need to find the upgrade on the Spearman because that is painful to look at. Tips is still almost 10 eco ahead, but you know, if it seems like I'm being a Japanese fanboy, I just want you guys to keep looking at the food income and understanding what this game's about to turn into. The military lead, like, it's going to shrink now. Tips is pretty much at his cap. He can't get much higher than this. So he has to end the game now, or it starts to snowball against him. Jesus, you think this guy's deflecting shots back at them like a Jedi right now? The amount of hits he takes. I love how the second Katana Banner was like, oh, wow, you can tank that long? No, you can't. Stop. Raids on the flanks. Food's running out, folks. He's now moving his eco closer and closer to KJ's base. That eco lead, not growing. If anything, it's shrinking here. Tips. I mean, this is the problem, right? Like, you're going to have to dive this base. You're going to have to go for eco kills, but that rocket launcher is ready to rock and roll. And now the deer have been found! Where are you running? Where can you run here? Tips, even with textiles, the losses mount up. They're now eco neck and neck. KJ continues to back away. He doesn't want to touch these Chuganu for good reason here, but he doesn't need to now. This is starting to turn into a macro game, one that the Juji just can't win. They need to make a granary transition, but where do you do it? Here? Here? Where can you do a granary transition on this map that's safe right now? KJ stands for the fight. Chuganu are going to start shredding through this, but it's the reboot afterwards that's the problem, right? A lot of spinmen are going to be going down for the Juji. Some leak through of the Onobugishi and the Samurai are going to start reaching those Chuganu, and although KJ is throwing away a lot of troops, the food numbers allow him to do this. This was the cheap army, folks. Mass Spearman behind this. He's got 25 Samurai ready to fight. Tips. He's going to struggle to clear that. Oh, man. More eco losses as well. 4 more villagers go down the tail end, and all of a sudden a 4 eco lead. Food is a struggle now for Tips. This raid group still hasn't been cleared up, by the way. They're taking out villages. And a second TC has gone up now. So KJ, we said he had a lot of stone to work with. He found a way to spend it. Second TC online. More farms now being added in. He's now up to a grand total of 30. His food income is stabilized above 1,500 food. Tips, this is very Jabati. That 1,000 food is temporary again. Another thing that's kind of weird here, I don't like from Tips, is he didn't use an Imperial official out on these locations. With limited food, this is a very big difference maker. Instead of making this deer last for what, 400, 500 more food, he dries out at 2450. If he had the Imperial official here, he'd almost be getting 3,000 food from this location. Same with the previous deer, same with the boar. It's a lot to miss out on, and now this tech up choice. With the Shaolin Monastery coming out, but Tips, even with this tech up, one thing that scares me, he still hasn't solved for the food. I mean, you got what, like maybe 1,000 food left on the boar? Deer are now gone. Right, everything's down to like 500 food. This tech up is kind of awkward in that with limited food, you now have to build monks which cost food. Now, he has got a lot of rams. If there's one thing we can say, it's that he has a crap ton of rams to work with. However, the last 3 times he's had rams to work with, I'd argue he hasn't had success. I don't think he's found any permanent damage. And because he's attacking from the south side, I have to ask the very important question. What are you attacking? And the answer had better not be that Shogunate Castle. KJ needs to get some gold. And he snuck out for it as well. Here we go on the flanks. This is what he needs. It's going to be a tech up. Okay, so the fact that Tips did not block the left side mobile move there is big, right? That one villager that snuck out and set up outposts along the flank is why KJ is able to take this risk. And now with this risk, a tech up is on the way. Floating gate coming through. And the scary part is, although you've now got veteran Chuganu, this is going to be a fast tech up. This is probably going to be a Rax alongside it. And that means these Samurai are going to be upgraded straight away to counter the Chuganu mass. Rams are in though, Tips. Looking to end the game before it reaches that. 18 villagers rushing up that floating gate. A lot of damage coming into the Shogunate. KJ understands he may need to sacrifice the TC to win this game. There needs to be a Rax drop, though. There needs to be a Rax drop right now from KJ. This is a mistake not having it nearby. Every second matters here. Samurai, march forward. Rams are being targeted down here. Garrison on the TC, and the Chuganu are suffering from the dive. It looks like he's going to commit to keep the Shogunate up. It's going to be tight here. 2.2k HP left over, but only 3 Rams remaining, and it looks like KJ gets the pushback. The Rams go down, and Tips is unable to get the 1 kill he needed in the base. Oh my god. This is over. I mean, he has 70 Chuginu now. His opponent has teched up. And his opponent keeps the 75% food buff. I can't believe this. I mean, people saying if only he brought more Rams. No, no, no. If only he stood there. If only he committed for the kill in the Shogunate Castle. Think about what that would have done to KJ. If he lost his Shogunate Castle, repairing it in this game is impossible. It has 13,000 HP. He would have been without food income at the start of Castle Age for several minutes. That is what you needed if you were Tips. Instead, he backs away to protect the Chuginu army, and now he is in trouble. KJ has the upgrades coming in for the Samurai, has also got mounted heavy cavalry on the way. And Tips, he has got the granaries now coming in, but it's only 1 complete. He has got Song Dynasty to make it a little bit more efficient, but you're at a point now where your opponent is spamming Cav and you haven't got a wall in. Now, he has at least got 2 relics, so he's at least taken advantage there, but the food is still critical here. Army's at least going to idle this out. Looks like it's going to be a raid. Multiple angles coming from KJ. Now that he's got the bream room to move out on the map, he wants to use it. Tips will look to move away with the few villages he has out here, but the outposts are not going to last long. Just too many torches. Army's trying to react, but it's so slow. Chuginu wasting their time on the outpost. Meanwhile, this little vanguard force could actually rotate around the back and find the granary in its infancy. If this gets spotted, the game just comes to a flat line for Tips. The other scary thing for me right now is there's not much really stopping Kaiser Johann from going into 2 mangonels to crush this entire army. Tips is too reliant on ranged units with not much to defend. He's got Nesta Bees to try and trade out, but no Springles to deal with Mangos. Instead, though, KJ, he's going to go Mass Horseman. Oh, man. 20 Horsemen plus an Abandonment here destroys this army. Wall's at least going to go up. Well played. Tips does go for the stone wall here, so no backstab coming in there. But he's moved his entire army north side, which means if KJ just gets a small group of troops together, say some cavalry, and finds his way south, Tips is in trouble. Oh, man. This is low. Really slow. KJ has to keep a big army back here just in case there's a dive coming from Tips, because his secondary food eco source is over in this area, right? But ultimately, as it stands, they're about to have kind of like this net neutral point when it comes to military count, but the army value is building in favor of KJ with this. Samurai numbers now up to 40. Horseman count also scaling. He's starting to move in towards where the economy is located. Villagers. Oh my god, the sneak out coming through. KJ, he does get seen, but it's only 1 Chuginu, so now he has to make a choice. Am I diving into the base to end this game, or am I chasing after the 20 eco? Oh my god, he's actually going to chase it. What? He takes the bait. It's 20 idle eco, but you're never going to catch them. What? Meanwhile, your economy's not moving anywhere. But you know who is? KJ. He's moving in. Dude, what a sick bait. I actually can't believe this. KJ, I don't know if that was entirely intentional, but obviously he's moving out here for gold. Tips wants to block it out, but now the price is going to be high. This is 1 TC versus 2. KJ can afford these losses. Tips cannot. And it's definitely going to be an even trade at the end of the day here. Eco running for their lives as the Samurai flood in. They're going to go deep. They're going to find the granaries. They're going to find everything. Tips, in a panic, rushes up with a keep. He has to be fast about this, though. Maybe it's one saving grace. Chuginu do find the villages, but they're not able to keep in range. They don't even have textiles. Oh, my God. How? How does he get away with that? What did he lose? He lost 2 villages. 2 villages through that entire process. KJ with the magic fingers. Chiganu at least peeled off to come home, but damage already done, right? The idle out on the eco. The lack of access, the fact your keep had to be dropped on the farmlands to protect means you haven't actually protected the woodlines forward of it. KJ now reaching equality on the military count, but not equal in terms of quality. These samurai with Odachi tech are able to annihilate Chiganu. Just need to get the numbers together for it. Relics also being dropped on the ground, so that's less gold to work with after Tips worked so hard to try and get this map control under control. It's now slipping away. And the waves are not stopping, folks. KJ, this food number is only going to keep going up, right? Like, he's got more room for more farms if he chooses on the front side of his base. And for the first time in the game, it doesn't feel like if he builds something forward, he's going to lose it. Stone walls are at least up, so good read there by Tips to protect the eco. Has cornered one group of samurai, but we know how this goes. We're 35 minutes into a game. The Japanese have got the full Shogunate farm set up. It's going to be non-stop pump. And every time you put out one fire, these guys are going to start another somewhere else. Not just that, KJ's already tacking up. Of course, you know, why cap out an eco again here? Your opponent is in for a penny, in for a pound. He's literally massed Chiganu to try and win the game. The only way you lose this game is if Tips is able to do this and go and mass Palace Guard. If he gets mass Palace Guard, then he'll be able to flood your eco. But for the time being, he's stuck on a unit that just doesn't do anything anymore. So this tech-up choice, a smart one coming out from KJ. It's going to be a dive into the base, but that's going to get cleared up quickly. Only a few eco units lost. Meanwhile, Village, it's going to be a pop block. Tips, wait, has he even realized? I don't think he knows. He's busy building keeps. Oh my god. How has KJ pulled this off? What an absurd game. The mass samurai now, like usually this can be kind of awkward against Palace Guard because you can't catch them, but the issue is because the samurai are already in your base, they don't need to chase after anything. They have everything they need right in front of them. Tips, as soon as he gets out of the housing situation, he's back in it again. All houses now being burnt down. Samurai upgrades coming in. Azutsu also being built. And that's going to be the key detail that allows him to clean this base. Keep is going to be discovered. KJ will have to slow down a little bit. Backstab is at least coming in from the Chiganu, but I'm a bit worried that even Palace Guard can't save you. Tips needs to tech up. He needs to get up into Imperial right now, and he needs to rush his upgrades. Unfortunately, he's getting scouted and spotted on multiple locations here. Plays for the gold in the center, but Azutsu have already been built, folks. So if you move these across here, this keep won't last long. KJ just goes wide again, doesn't This game can simply be summarized as catch me if you can. The amount of time these Chiganu have walked, I'm surprised they haven't got quads the size of people's chests. All they've been doing is running and gunning. They run and gun more than a Call of Duty player does. This is absurd. And yet every time they arrive in the wrong location because something's being taken away from Tips elsewhere. Castle goes down, more villages falling. That is now a 20 eco lead for KJ. And remember, he's up here in Imperial Age, which means he's also been getting additional Yorishiros to party with. Actually, no, he hasn't taken Bunrai yet. Imagine that'll be coming in soon for him. Oh, man. KJ, now ready for any fight. Hasn't got Oda tactics yet. I imagine that'll be on the way soon. At that point, I don't know how Tips defends this. He's lacking gold access, folks. He's got a 4K back here, but after that, nothing seems gainable. Meanwhile, KJ is taking away the passive gold trickle he's been getting for all this time. And this army has to defend here. Because otherwise, the food source is just gone. KJ charges in. His Samurai just so absurdly tanky now. And no upgrades yet. The Chuginu, what? He didn't supervise it. He's still got 35 seconds to go. It's a full elite army versus a full vet army. That is not going to end well. KJ with the dive in. Tips has to stand his ground here. One nest of bees, but it goes down, and the numbers are falling quick. KJ will get the turnaround after being oppressed for 30 minutes in this game. He makes Tips run laps around the map and then takes the biggest dump on him when he's ready to fight. What an insane game. Oh, Tips, buddy. I guess you didn't get the RAM memo.